Because there were, if you're thinking of a Pitt one, there were a couple that I was like, this isn't bad, but it's like it's so sporadic and all over the place, like in writing, that I was like, oh, this could be. I felt like I didn't love it because of that. Because you're no Brad Pitt.
All right, I'll be right back.
I mean, I didn't mean it.
Welcome to our Film Fathers podcast, the definitive podcast about fatherhood, film, and fatherhood in film. This is Jelani, and with me as always are ineffectual liberal jerk-offs, Martin and Brady.
Man, are you hungry? I haven't eaten since later this afternoon.
You are a total nutcase, completely deranged, delusional, paranoid. Your thought process is all fucked up. Your information train is jammed, man.
My memory's cloudy. It's a cloud. Because my memories aren't really memories. They're just one possible eventuality now. And they grow clearer or cloudier as they become more or less likely. But then they get to the present moment, and they're instantly clear again. I can remember what you do after you do it, and it hurts.
This week, last week, or some week in the future, we kicked off Genre June with time travel movies. With so many films to choose from, we branched from the main time stream to find three unique representations: 12 Monkeys, Primer, and Looper. These films attempt to answer the question, can you change the future if you know the future?
No, you can't change the future.
Why not?
Because time travel isn't possible.
Oh, that caveat.
All
right,
paradox
guys. Well,
on a paradox.
Good talk this week.
As always.
All right, I guess we've solved it.
Big gulp, huh?
With that said, though, I love time travel movies. This is really one of my favorite genres.
Yeah, this was a great addition to Genre June. One of my favorite podcast movie months of all time. As you know, huge fan. We kind of brought this up, and we all this is probably the fastest we've ever all three picked a movie for.
I think Brady. You asked. You're like, is time travel a genre? And I'm like, yep, done.
Yeah.
What we've done recently, like, with the Terminators, and we've obviously touched into that Edge of Tomorrow. We've gotten into the world of time travel, and yeah, I feel like it makes sense. Like, I mean, we should say, do you think it technically qualifies as a genre, or is it just like
it's a subgenre of sci-fi?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
And it's just used so much now. I feel like that it's probably when you have this many movies that use time travel, I feel like you could definitely subcategorize it as a genre. So
I think it gets a feel for more of a genre because it's become so ubiquitous as kind of like a
great word
as a genre, right? Because even though it's sci-fi, like you've seen rom-coms or just romances in general, like use time travel as a main plot device, right? So
The Time Traveler's Wife.
Right, About Time. There's tons of them, right? And so, that plus like
At least two.
Right, you have two. You've got
the list goes on and on. I named them both.
You've got
It's endless.
You've got action time travel, as we mentioned with the Terminators. You got comedy time travel with Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Bogus Journey, the newest Bill and Ted's movie. So I think it's just one of those things where like it can spread out so much that I think it's expanded beyond just being a subsection of sci-fi.
Love it.
Yeah, I was going to say, and to answer your question, like I think different movies there's different takes on it, right? There's the kind that are saying, no, there's nothing, no matter what you do, this has already happened. Versus
you're talking like,
yes, you can change things.
How much they follow the technicality of what time travel is, does, and can be type of thing.
Right. They all have to follow their own rules, and they make their own rules because, like I said at the beginning, to be the wet blanket about it, it's very much not possible. So yeah, you can do whatever you want, and I think the best time it's always better done, or they do a really good job when someone like brings up a question and they're like, I don't want to get into the whole causality, or and someone just kind of brushes it off like, I don't really understand it, so let's not get into it, don't ruin it, kind of a thing. Like don't get into the technicality of it, just sit back and kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, that could be we could be hearing about some technicalities later in regards to the movies that we're watching. I will say before we dive in here, so I looked up, I was curious, and I looked up 5 different like top time travel movie lists, and the movies we have are for the most part on all those lists. But
yes.
Right before we get into the 3, what are I guess maybe some of your, we aren't necessarily doing them trying to be ranked, but I'm curious, is there anything that we're not watching, that we didn't watch this week or going to discuss this week, that you would consider like the best or one of the best time travel movies out there? Essentially, do you have an opinion on what you think the best time travel movies, top couple time travel movies are that are or are not part of our discussion this week?
I think there are some honorable mentions. I don't necessarily know if they're the best. One for me is Time Crimes. I think that one's really good. It's a Spanish film that just makes your head hurt when you think about it. And I kind of like that in this sense. One on a, just
a man accidentally gets into a time machine and travels back in time nearly an hour.
Hey, nobody said time travel had to be a huge space. You just got to go back in time.
That was just amazing. That's an amazing
it's really, it is. It's really well done, and I agree. It's one of those that I just kind of watched on a whim, hadn't heard anything about, and was just very impressed with how it's done. And it is one of those this has already happened. Like everything that you've done, you can't change it because it's just kind of done. And I appreciate that. And at the time, I think it was pretty influential, or I don't know, maybe revolutionary isn't the word, but yeah, it was influential, and it seemed like a unique take on it. I've only seen it once, but I agree that's a great one. I almost haven't met a time travel movie that I didn't like. Like I'm looking at lists as well, and maybe I haven't seen them all, but almost all of them are I think have something that I enjoy.
You're going to see Back to the Future is at the top of, or close to, a lot of them. And one of them that I saw that actually caught my eye, because I legitimately, outside of one little note that I had seen that I hadn't heard of, but number one on one of the lists was, you'll see if I pronounce this right, is La Jetée?
Yeah, I think it's.
Hetty?
I don't even know if it's like a jetty,
like
a jetway. Yeah. Like
I don't know. I definitely don't know how to pronounce it. It's a French sci-fi film from 1962, and I believe you've seen it and probably read a short story that it was based on. But
we've gotten even more.
Short, and it's just
we've gotten even more about something that it's based on.
And the reason I bring that up is not only does it mention, which caught my eye, but our first movie entry here, 12 Monkeys, is inspired by that movie itself. So I believe this was yours, Jelani?
Yes, this was my pick. And the reason I picked it was because I hadn't seen it probably since 1996. So it was almost like I had never seen it before because it was so long ago. But yeah, it's one of those ones that... Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Martin, but isn't Terry Gilliam part of the Monty Python troupe?
Yeah,
he is.
He directed
right.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Okay, so
yeah, he's directed a bunch of other stuff. He's done some of the the animation stuff, I think, too, and like the comedy shorts. And he's really well known for a movie called Brazil.
That was right
that
before
you guys
this
probably haven't seen. It was
I guess
10
it
years
was.
Before,
yeah, a ways before.
Yeah. So, but I love when 12 Monkeys came out. I was obsessed with it. I loved it, and I still love it. And I hadn't seen it all the way through in a long time, so I was very, very glad that you selected it because I think it held up extremely well, in my opinion. And it was such a good.
Well,
rewatch.
real quick on the Terry Gilliam front. So a bunch of the notes I saw were like, oh, so and so like I think it was like Bruce Willis is willing to take like no money to work with Terry Gilliam. So and so wanted to work with Terry Gilliam, and I was like, looking at what he had done up until that point, is it all essentially from Monty Python and the Holy Grail? Because some of the other stuff, this isn't even his first time travel movie. Time Bandits in 1981, which, let me tell you, didn't make our cut, but a young boy accidentally joins a band of time-traveling dwarves as they jump from an era to era looking for a treasure to steal. So he loves time travel. But is that what it was? Was he known specifically for Monty Python, and it was just like his stature was so good? Because I don't really necessarily see his resume up to this point as being that impressive.
So there's a few. It's Time Bandits. You mentioned. I mentioned Brazil. The Adventures of Baron Munchausen is another one.
I saw that on
he's
the
known
list,
for.
but that's a thing? Is that?
And then the Fisher King I've seen as well. It was pretty good movie.
I feel like I would have thought that was the Coen brothers if you would have told me who directed the Fisher King, I'd be like Coen brothers. I don't know why.
Because Robin Williams and
I don't know what
Jeff
I really
Bridges?
don't. I just think I thought that was part of their world. By the way, never seen it. That might be enough to tell me that it wasn't them. But
so Terry, he's just he's just got a unique kind of vision, unique style, which it's very much on display in 12 Monkeys. So like kind of what you see there is I think Bruce Willis had the right. I didn't know that about this movie, but it seems like he had the right idea. I think he's just one of those kind of visionary directors, and I didn't think there were that many of them at the time that were like doing unique takes on things. So I could totally see why someone would say they'd want to work with him. But yeah,
there were a lot of notes.
Probably Monty Python more than anything.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned, Martin. I think it's the style of the movie and how it's delivered that just makes it stand out so much. Because when you typically think of like an action or even just a general time travel movie, it's always got this like, okay, we've got this plot, everything's kind of linear. We're gonna follow from point A to point B, we're going to jump back to point A prime or whatever. But this one, it just kind of bounces all over the place. And like the camera angles are different, and the way that, they show them in the mental institution in the beginning, and, Bruce Willis is going through and he's kind of drugged, like not fully coherent. And you just kind of feel like the uneasiness, but you want him to get through and stuff like that. So it's like, it gives you that unsettled of, it's not crisp, it's not clean. And that's what time travel would be, right? There's no, like, the people who were sending him back didn't have an exact science of how to send him back to where they needed him to go. Like, they sent him to the, 1990. It's like, no, you're supposed to go 96. And, kind of just bounced all over the place. Like, it's an inexact science, and the way that it's shot and the way that it's directed kind of shows and gives you that feel of this is inexact and kind of just flying by the seat of your pants.
Totally agree. And I mean, I just love Brad Pitt's performance. I think he's so good.
It's unreal how good he is throughout. Like, he is absolutely perfect. And I feel like he was on a heater, right? Like, for a while in the mid 90s there, and getting going and kind of becoming the icon or iconic actor that I think a lot of people perceive him to be.
Well, that's why I've always loved Brad Pitt as an actor, mainly because of this movie. Because yes, you know that he could have just went right straight to leading man and done romantic comedies or just romantic movies, or just been a straight leading guy that everyone loves, or even some kind of action star. But instead, he plays this off the wall character really, really well. A complete nutcase. Looks crazy. Doesn't look as good as he could. Doesn't have to take his shirt off or anything like that in this movie. And he just blows it out of the water. So like much respect for that. I think.
Finish with that.
I was gonna say, I think also, we've talked about Paul Rudd. I think Paul Rudd is another one of those actors that I respect for the same reasons. Like, he could have had this different career, maybe if he went for like these leading man roles, but he decided he wanted to do some wacky comedy movies like Anchorman, and he got there eventually, and he's the sexiest man alive now, and Brad Pitt as well. But they took risks with their roles, and I respect that for those guys.
Yeah, I mean, in the middle of he, I think, is renowned for Brad Pitt. I mean, for coming into Hollywood via Thelma and Louise, that kind of put him like on the map. He was, this dreamy young actor, and getting into River Runs Through It, one of my faves, early life for him. True Romance we did, that was in '93. Interview with the Vampire, Legends of the Fall were both '94. 7 and 12 Monkeys, both '95. Sleepers '96. '97 he gets The Devil's Own and 7 Years in Tibet. So sometimes you don't get rewarded for doing a whole bunch, a wide range of movies. But and then I mean, you're into '99 Fight Club, Snatch, The Mexican, great, Dark Horse, Spy Game, Ocean's 11. I mean, he's off and running at that point. Like, I think to your point, he did everything he could. I mean, he did all sorts of different roles. He didn't just take the dreamy leading man run. And it's funny, you don't see, and maybe it's just because it didn't exist in the mid '90s. Like, do you think 5 years later he is stuck in like McConaughey rom-com world where he's just this attractive leading man actor? Or do you think he's just different and he was going to be looking for the movies that were more interesting than that?
I think you might be right. Like, I think if he comes along a little bit later, he gets pigeonholed, especially if the movies that he starts out in are as successful, and then I mean, McConaughey tried to break out into, do some action stuff, but I don't think it ever really took. Like, I'm trying to think of anything that he was really in that you were like, oh yeah, he's the next level action star. Like, you could see Brad Pitt as being an action star. You still see McConaughey as kind of being that goofy, we can do more comedies with him than we can do like true action or things like that. So
right.
I think you might be right, but
just curious.
Somebody had to fill that void.
I mean, obviously, most people, say he was renowned for being essentially a really attractive actor. But I think to Martin's point, and I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, he's one of my favorite actors that I've grown up with because he has done so many different things and he's done them all so well.
Yeah, but it was really solidified in '95 with this movie. And I was just going to ask when 7. I forgot that it was '95 as well. So I mean that's just a killer year. I mean, if it was that alone, he'd be one of my favorite actors. If it was just for these two roles.
Yeah.
Or for 12 Monkeys and 7.
Did you guys get any
numbers? Anything with a number in it?
Did you guys get any feels of like a dry run for Tyler Durden from this?
Yes. So I felt like not only I think that I will say I felt like his quote that I don't have in front of me that was like kind of on almost like anti-capitalism and anti like everybody like selling out for the man type of vibe was that's when it like triggered for me. I'm like, oh man, this is like feels like the early staging ground for him going to Tyler Durden.
Yeah, he's talking about games, and he's like, games, he wants you just to control your mind, and he's like hitting that woman in the back of the head. Like everything about their performance, and he's running around and saying the TV, they just want you to watch and buy and consume, and he just goes off on a rant, and you wonder how much of it is written versus how much he, took upon himself to kind of add in. But he had a definite timing and rhythm to how he was giving those crazy paranoid speeches, but they just
I would say
really,
most
really
likely
well.
it probably stemmed. It was more of a fitting piece when you have when the Fight Club comes around and they're like, you know who is exactly right for this is Brad Pitt. Look at 12 Monkeys. Like this, he can, it's more of a bridge to that point is my guess, as opposed to like, I think it's just pure coincidence in terms of anything actually said, but that's just me. But not the only actor in this movie who I felt like I had the same note. Like, is this the beginning of a further role? And I don't want to jump too far down the cast list because there are a handful of people we should call out. But another one is Maloney, our cop. I was like, wait, he's young here. I'm like, is this the path to Law and Order?
See, I can't look at him as anything other than the guy humping the fridge in
Wet Hot
American Summer.
And I'm not even like a guy who watched a whole lot of Law and Order, but I know that's where he is probably. That's probably what paid for his whole life. So
yes, yeah,
Christopher Maloney. And I was like, and I looked back and I'm like, at least by character name, it is the first like definitive cop role for him, and I feel like he locked in.
Well, I think for a while he probably was feeling, he had that look, and then this played up, so that's when he jumped over to Oz and went on the other side of the law.
Yep, that's
and then got too deep in there and had to come
never
back.
Watched that show.
Also, I had to do a hesitation there. His character in this movie, Maloney's character in this movie, is Jim Halpern.
From the Office.
And when he said it, I was like, hold on, what was that? So yeah, not quite Jim Halpert from The Office, but it was close enough that it got my attention. I will say that.
But yeah, as a time travel movie.
Oh right.
Fine, we'll talk about it as a time travel movie.
Back to the genre, unless we want to keep going
I'm just
down the cast. But I thought I kind of forgot about the exact ending when she's on the woman's on the plane and she's like, "Oh, I'm in insurance," because she is still, the whole movie they're talking about how I'm not gonna try to stop you. I'm not gonna change. You can't change the future. They're just trying to find a cure for the virus for the future. But then it does seem like they are trying to change. And do you get the impression
That's
that
the question,
they
right?
stopped?
So I definitely had that
outbreak?
too.
Yeah.
Like, one is, it seemed to me like, and I'm with. By the way, I didn't say I'm with all of you, like, or both of you. Sorry, all two of you. That I don't remember seeing this. I don't think since probably the late 90s at best. Like maybe I saw it a second time, but it's been a long time. So I was kind of thinking I love this movie, but also coming in kind of fresh. It felt like, especially towards the end, I was questioning how many people around him were time travelers,
infected,
essentially.
Oh, okay.
Like,
or how much of it was delusional, because he was clearly in the bathroom hearing that old guy that pulled his teeth, the voice, but it wasn't.
But
him.
you saw,
so
you saw that dude who was from like Chicago PD, and you saw the dude, you started seeing some people you recognized, and to your point, at the end you see the woman who is one of the doctors, scientists, whatever she is.
Yeah.
So I was starting to question, like, how many people in and around him are people that are actually essentially working alongside him / with him towards the same goal. I, though, don't know for sure. I didn't know how to take her on the plane. I don't know the answer. I don't know that I think she was traveling back, or is this her in real time? And then from there, she becomes
the lead scientist.
I don't.
Yeah,
I would argue it's not definitive.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't take that as. I thought that her saying insurance is definitely was like the tongue in cheek, the wink wink. I'm not really in insurance, but I'm here to make sure, just in case he didn't shoot you. What do
What's
you mean?
insurance have to do with it?
Ensuring
that the virus
that
doesn't get out.
That they kill him.
Oh,
Yeah. Because they wanted to give it to Cole. He's like, Jose's giving him the gun, and he's like, here, James Cole, you take the gun, you be the hero, you earned it because you're the one that discovered it wasn't the 12 monkeys that did it. You gave us that information. We're here to let you kill the guy. But he fails, so she's there to ensure that
she's
someone
on
else
the plane. It
stops.
feels like they were pretty planned there for fail-safe wise.
Yeah.
They were counting on failure.
Right.
See, and that's why I don't.
Yeah.
I think she wasn't in on it yet.
That's
why-
I'm leaning more that way.
Oh.
Yeah, like she just
okay.
happened to be sitting next to the guy who's going to release the virus, and it was more of.
I
like,
think the
it
odds
was
are
just a freak
Martin's right.
coincidence.
I just think that the story is told in a way that makes me think that Jelani and I are right.
Which means we are right.
That's perfect. That's perfectly fine, but because it doesn't, that this is the whole paradox of everything, right? Because if she does stop
But
it
how
from
would
happening,
she stop
then
it?
James
That's my
Cole-
thing. I
Cole
don't know
never
that there's
exists.
anything that I've seen, and nothing I saw in that like brief dialogue. What was she gonna do? Like,
Just slip something in his drink. What do you
that's
mean?
a leap. Slip something in his drink.
I mean, they were both They were drinking champagne, I think, on the plane, and he had eight or nine countries to go to. It was the same list
100%,
that James
I
Cole
agree
had to
with you.
memorize. So she's going to stop him from going to those 9
we
countries.
all
and
agree.
stop
Young
the,
David
stop the
Morse
plague.
with a red. By the way, is his hair red? Is it blonde? I always thought it was a blonde, but maybe he's not. I don't know.
Well, that's why, because they wanted you to think it was
was
Brad
great.
Pitt with the ponytail, and I mean, just
So well done.
well
They
done.
nailed it.
I love all the misdirection of it, and the we did it, and the 12 monkeys.
Now,
but it's
were
they
there
really just
were
released the
there
animals,
12
and he saw
monkeys
the animal
in the
early
movie?
on.
Because there was a lot of monkey references, like verbally,
No more
physically,
monkey business.
like you saw monkeys, you heard monkey. Like I started to question, like, do I need to rewatch this and count the references? Feels like they got to be pushing 12.
Well, no, there was 11 other guys. That's what
I'm
they said.
saying
Brad-
separately from that, like alongside that, Martin's without a doubt immediately against this idea.
That there were actually
So-
12
so-
monkeys in
no.
the movie.
I'm surprised you're saying it. It's not.
But what
July.
I'm saying is, I can't believe you don't recognize that, like, over and over again, they were referencing and showing monkeys. I think
Yeah, I get the monkey
I
with the
think
sandwich.
there's a chance there are 12 monkeys. Without counting them while I was watching, I think there are either visually and or verbally 12 monkey references as a little, like, tongue-in-cheek. Boom.
Good. I won't. Wouldn't
You,
put
on
it
the
past
other hand,
Terry
like,
Gilliam.
no, there was 11 other guys.
And only 10 monkeys.
What do you guys think of the title? We
Great.
talk about this
Love it.
often.
I
Yeah,
think
you're
it's
intrigued.
right?
Yeah, I think it does exactly that. It doesn't tell you anything specific. I mean, they bring it back, so it's not like it's completely random, but like it's perfectly vague. I don't know. I think it's great.
Have you guys ever seen the porn version called "Spanking 12 Monkeys"?
No.
And on that,
I mean that
note,
literally. No.
Sorry, that's not original. I don't know where I heard that, but I heard that probably back in '95, and I thought it was just funny.
Sure, Martin.
We believe you. All of us believe you. No, I really did. I enjoyed the rewatch here, and I think Bruce Willis was perfect. Pitt was perfect. Seeing Madeline Stowe. She, I will say I can remember a young high school age Jeremy seeing her in.
Wow.
There's a Ray Liotta movie. Ray Liotta, Michael Douglas.
Yes.
Something to do with like entry, maybe.
Unlawful entry?
Unlawful entry.
Yeah,
There it is.
Unlawful entry.
That's it. She's got a memorable scene. That's how I know Madeline Stowe. That's how I know her. I'm sorry, guys. I'm only one man. I'm only a man. But I will say, like, it felt like everything was working always. Like, it just always was working. Like, you kind of touched on it briefly. There were references, like you get little throwouts. I think you could watch this movie 10 times and catch something new every time.
Yeah, it was visually very good. Every time they mentioned 12 Monkeys, they had that creepy ass song, which I don't even know what instrument it's played on, but that theme, that theme, which worked very well and is very, very seems very Terry Gilliam to me as well. And yeah, the acting was great.
Did you guys catch the Jesse White tumblers out there performing in the lawn
on the mattresses?
No.
Yeah.
Flipping on the mattresses in Philly.
You guys got that? That was the early precursor of all of it. Yeah. A little random note I had, but did you guys? So one thing, it's funny. I actually had a note being like, "When was this movie?" Was what I typed, and I saw in some notes in the notes I was looking up on IMDb that although it was never addressed directly, the script and some promotional material revealed the future scenes take place in the year 2035. Because I was like, when is the future? I was generally curious. I feel like I've come to expect them kind of laying the groundwork for that, and weirdly, it felt like they almost intentionally never really said, like, this is when this was.
Yeah, I almost felt like it was closer to...
Keeping in mind that it was, a long time ago when it happened, so...
Yeah, I felt like it might have been even closer when I was watching it, closer to like 96 or 97, but then he went underground when he was younger, so that wouldn't have worked. But
well, and yeah, you get into some of that aging, but it's also like trying to identify that without knowing numbers. So I thought that was kind of interesting because I'm like, it's one of those little tidbits that you'd think was automatically a part of the movie, and then I felt like answered a question I had of like, wait, when the hell is this even supposed to, like, how far in the future are we talking, But
yeah. And by the way, the Legeti, or however you say it, is really just that last the whole concept of watching yourself die as a kid, watching your future self die as a kid because you traveled back in time. That's the whole thing. It's a 28-minute short of, really, it's only stills too, but the whole like conceit or whatever concept of it is that
read or watch it.
Wouldn't it be wild? Yeah, you
don't
like
something you'd make me laugh.
So they took that idea and made it obviously so much more with 12 Monkeys, because it's just that's the very simple idea, and they took it and made it only a small part. Well,
before we move on to the next one real quick, so I looked up 5 lists of the top time travel movies. Entertainment Weekly did not rank 12 Monkeys in their top 23 movies. IMDb put it as 12th. The Guardian, also not ranked. Popular Mechanics, who, let me tell you, I clicked on the link strictly because Popular Mechanics had a top ranking. I was really intrigued by that. They put it 5, and IGN put it as number 2 overall.
I mean, to not have it on a list.
Yeah,
that seems
Entertainment Weekly
a bit much.
Let me tell you, Entertainment Weekly didn't appreciate apparently what they were putting out there. So, but Martin, we should get to your entry to the time travel genre.
So I selected Primer from 2004, and I think I saw it around that time. No, I saw it probably a few years later, and was blown away by it. Which I don't know if you guys. I know you probably haven't seen it, but I don't know. I'm dying to know if you guys were just completely bored with it, liked it, loved it.
And what I took a couple of notes, but one of which was, I realize that I'm too stupid for this movie.
I think that's what everybody feels. That's what everybody feels when you watch it.
That was my assessment. It made me feel too stupid for the movie, And I don't know that that's a great quality to have as a movie. And I might just be too stupid for the movie, but I don't think that I am generally too stupid to appreciate a movie. It was so technical at times that I just felt like this is not for consumption by like the movie going people. I thought overall I did not.
Jelani?
I got lost. I'm not gonna lie.
That makes me feel better.
I was
It's so short.
I was
too.
so lost because there were times when I was like, okay, I get that they got the loop and then they can go in, but then they come out ahead of the when they went in, and then there were clones,
This makes me
and
feel
I
so
was
much
just like,
better.
where am I going with this? And
Did you guys
No.
look anything
no,
up?
absolutely not.
Oh, so I was gonna sense.
I don't
want to
watch it with
I
Crip
didn't wanna
fucking notes.
ruin
I
it. No, not.
I feel
for
justified
after
that
you- for
Jelani
after
felt
you
that
watch
way
it.
because I felt like in my watch I was like, not only did I feel too stupid for it, but I was like, this just seems intentionally like,
Complex.
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
You're making it too hard. Like, I'll be
It's-
honest.
It's the kid.
The best part about the movie is that it was only an hour and 17 minutes long.
It's super short, right? And I think it's an amazing feat to be able to pack that much into it in an hour and 17 minutes, and for to not have any kind of big special effects or anything. They're just really going into a box, but to be able to have such a complicated story of how it might actually, it just felt like the real. If anyone was ever going to fall into time travel, this is how it feels like it would happen. It'd be some guys that stumble into it and
I'm
have
more
to talk about it
convinced
this
that time
way,
travel
or-
does
and that's-
exist and that Shane Carruth actually is the guy who invented it. Like I feel like they're describing what really is time travel. Like this feels like a documentary. Like
Right. Yes.
more-
it has that feel. Yeah.
oh, in more than one way than an actual like movie. But it is unenjoyable to watch, as I feel like.
Yeah.
I think you guys
Please
need to,
don't
so
say
there's,
watch it
there's
again.
Reddits on it. and you're gonna have to watch it again. Yeah, you'd have to watch it a few
No.
times. I've
Can
probably
you
seen
send
it
me the
four,
crib, the
four
crib
or
book,
five
the
times.
crib notes, so I can like get dialed in before I,
mean-
watch it again?
It's a whole. I mean, look it up right now. You guys really need to see it. It's just if you look up the loops and how there's like 12 different timelines.
Great, that's what I was hoping for.
that are like
Hey.
shown out, and it's like a
At
visual.
least there's 12 and not just 11.
Well, no, there's one section where it says like there's 11, but it could be many more because we don't know how many times they went back to do the whole disarm
Yeah.
the guy with the gun.
I was hoping, I was hoping to
save
dive
Rachel.
deeper.
I know you guys don't want to dive deep.
No,
at all.
here's the thing.
I don't know.
I was happy
I love this
to
movie I love it.
initially, and then I was like, literally, 20 minutes in, they're just talking in the garage, and I was like, what? I'm
So,
like,
Martin,
I'm fucking
explain-
stupid, man. I'm like, I could not keep up with this shit.
Explain to me what the point of going back with the guy with the gun. I have two big questions. The guy with the gun, what
That's-
was his deal?
yeah.
Did he just go and shoot up the party?
Yeah, they don't
And
bring
they
him
went
up.
and just-
They set no table.
He didn't. That is a part that for me is kind of a point of
Should watch
contention
it
as well
again.
because they mention. Well, no, because
They reference it prior
they say
to that.
right. They call him hero first, and so we know that he did something, but it's one of the duplicates of Aaron. But he says the guy at the party the first time didn't do anything. He was just waving the gun around. But the point, the way that he convinces Abe, who Rachel is Abe's girlfriend, the way that he convinces him to do this is because he says, if we don't do it now, who knows what he's going to do when he's alone with her. But I've read some things, and I feel that maybe we're supposed to take away that he does actually hurt somebody at the party.
It's
the
too
first
confusing.
time. Right, it's too confusing, and they don't really give you that clue. But you would have to think that yes, there probably is someone that dies, and that's the whole reason that Mr. Granger, the guy that they
The boss man, who's
that's Rachel's
randomly
dad,
maybe
the boss
traveled
man,
back in
yes.
time on his own, maybe simultaneously.
Right, yeah,
because he
he
had
did.
access clearly.
He did.
Like, the
Right, he did, and that's
he's got a
what I
3-day
think.
shadow or
what I think
some
happened. Right, one of the guys Aaron must have changed something when he first saved Rachel from that guy with the gun at the party. So, and it somehow her dad must have found out, and that's why he went back, and that's why he was
definitely not a
following them
leap
around.
at all.
So something. It's. I mean, there's no way to really know, but I think that's what's happening, and
the
that's
no way to
you're
really
gonna-
know
you're-
is
it's
kind
gonna
of
make sense.
the big issue that we're having.
I know. But
The other
it's-
issue I had,
but
though-
the thing that it makes sense for, like, what's impressive is that it does make there is a technical sense to it. Like he had to think this stuff through, and that's it's mind-boggling to me that you could edit and put
I
this
feel
together.
like you're
One guy
trying to
could do it.
marry two things together. Like, you very much appreciate the idea that Shane Carruth put together and was
Yeah.
able to put something on screen, trying to depict it. But I feel like you're glossing over the massive gaps in, like, the execution. Like, you like the idea, and I can appreciate that because I feel like you're more onto something with that I can get there. But I feel like the flaws are pretty
Yeah.
significant.
Yeah, but I just don't think the thing is they're not flaws. Like, I know what you're saying. Like, you're calling them gaps and flaws. What I'm saying is, just because you don't know for sure doesn't make it a gap or a flaw. There could be an answer. He could know it. He just decided to do it this way for this reason.
I choose
the more
not
I
to
watch
run.
It, the more I. Who will not wear the ribbon? No, but the more I watch it, the more I read into it. It doesn't become like I don't see stuff that tells me, oh my god, that's just stupid, and why he just didn't know what he was doing. It leads me to the path of, oh my
I'll
god,
be
he's
honest,
a genius.
I never
and
once
it's
thought,
amazing
oh,
that
they
he's
don't
able
know what
to do
they're
it.
doing. I thought a lot, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Okay. All right, Brady. I'm sorry, Jelani. Second question. Sorry. I cut you off.
So, did he capture one of his clones and stuff him in the attic?
At least
Yeah,
one.
okay.
Those
For
are
sure.
the
And
rats
that's
in the attic, I think.
Right.
The rats in the attic. Yeah, I'm glad you guys picked up on that. That took me a while to even get.
It seems
And then-
flawed inherently that you would stuff a person in the attic, apparently with the inability to open the door. I don't,
It was a lot going on, and I wasn't processing it at all.
That's what
I
took the rats. I connected to the rats. I could, I just feel like there is, I'm not there. I'm not mentally capable of following the technicality aspect all the way through, and there are just so many, like, things that you have to follow in order to keep the story straight, and everything was. Even the parts where they're showing, like, different people, I'm like, I don't even know what, like, it's almost like, without knowing the correct way to say it, I feel like I never knew which timeline I was watching.
Yeah. But you can, if you want
As
to.
long as you have a cheat sheet with you. Crib notes.
Kinda, yeah. Or watch it a bunch of times. But yeah, and basically all that really matters is it's kind of like the Kaiser Soze at the end of Usual Suspects. Like, sometimes the story doesn't all matter. What matters is at the end,
So you believe it.
Aaron is free, right? Yeah, he's kind of free to do he's like the third one or whatever, and Abe's gonna stay behind and make sure that they don't do anything from the beginning, because they have that fail safe that's running them back to the beginning before they even figure
Does this
out
make
what time
sense
travel
coming
is.
out of your mouth?
And then Aaron, yeah, and Aaron's in France making a huge box. That's what like the last scene was him just directing people to make as big a box as a factory.
It's amazing
So,
to me that you think
I don't
those
know,
words
kind of a cool
that came out
ending,
of your
too.
mouth made coherent sense.
Time travel box. Yeah.
No, that part
Makes sense.
fine. I'm saying you're like, no, and it's this guy, and he's doing, yeah, boom.
Well, because I know as I'm explaining it to you guys, I know you guys don't even
No,
know the
I know the
characters'
characters'
names.
names.
probably,
That's the
Oh, okay.
as far as I got, I think. But
Are you
I've
glad
got
you
four
watched
guys
it
looking at
least?
each other through a prism from a parking lot structure. Am I glad I watched it? That's a great question.
Yeah.
All right. So the third
I mean,
movie
it's on the list.
is
Tell me. Yeah, no, tell me what list it's list it's on. Is it
oh
on
yeah,
any of
sorry. No, fair
Or all of
question. The Entertainment Weekly not ranked again. I think you have to take Entertainment Weekly at what its name is.
I always liked Entertainment Weekly. It's kind of disappointing.
IMDb 11th, Guardian, The Guardian 10th, Popular Mechanics number 2, IGN number 4.
My people.
So you have it ranked
Yep.
in 4 of 5 of these publications, as opposed to 12 Monkeys was 3 of 5. But with the highest ranking of 2, which matched 12 Monkeys. There you go. Is this a creation of catalytic converter theft?
Hey, at least you're bringing the jokes, buddy. Good job. Good job. I was just gonna say that maybe these movies aren't for
These
you,
or
but,
this one? I like the first one. I like 12 Monkeys.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Maybe I was going to name a couple other movies that are kind of indie time travel movies that are kind of interesting. Coherence is one of them, but you guys, after hearing how you felt about Primer, you might not like Coherence either. But I want to mention it for the people out there who are
Who's
looking for
that?
recommendations,
Anything-
like Primer. All the listeners.
Strange
All the
things begin to
listeners.
happen when a group of friends gather for a dinner party on an evening when a comet is passing overhead. All right. I don't know about
Yeah.
you, but I'm in.
And just the whole, it's very like quantum
Okay.
mechanics, like because coherence. It just has they talk about it in ways that kind of
Fair.
I don't know, makes you feel like they're talking about time travel in a way that it might actually happen, right? And Predestination is another. That's not so much indie, and it's with Ethan Hawke. It's not great, but it's got a great ending. There's just kind of like a very unique ending. So those are two that I would.
The movie is set in an alternate universe where space travel in the 60s was more advanced than in our world. Okay.
And then in terms of like, you guys all have seen Donnie Darko, right? I love Donnie Darko. Yeah.
Yep.
That's kind of interesting as well. And then there's another Loop one. I forget. It's called like, I think Triangle.
Of
That's
Sadness?
a pretty good indie. No, just just Triangle. But it's more like it's a time travel movie, but it's like a loop time travel movie. That I think you guys might like. That's it.
Is that from
That's it
2009?
for my like indie time travel.
5 friends
spiel.
set sail and their yacht is overturned by a strange and sudden storm.
That
like
sounds
Bermuda
a lot
Triangle.
like Triangle of Sadness.
Yeah, right. One of those spawned the other one. Melissa George is your star. She looks familiar.
Yeah, you've seen.
We've
her.
seen her before. Trying to think of what movie
30
she was
Days
in.
of Night. No.
Yeah, 30 Days of Night, maybe.
Yeah, well, that's 100% right. I just feel like that's not the right answer.
No, 30 Days a Night. That's a vampire film with Hartnett, right? No, that's 40 Days and 40 Nights. I feel like 30 Days of Night is still it's a vampire film though.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I scrolled down hard and I found that she was in an episode of Silk Stocking, so let's just assume that was the right answer. You mentioned The Loop.
Yeah, The Loop.
My entry to this, and is the 2012 movie Looper. And as we transition over, let me mention that Rian Johnson, the director of Looper, mentioned in the director's commentary that not only is Primer the best time travel movie ever made. But that when he sent the script for Looper to his friend Shane Carruth, the writer and director of Primer, Carruth told him that his time travel was all wrong.
Thanks, buddy.
That's awesome. No. What are you doing? You got this all wrong.
I felt like that was at least
That's
worth
so
mentioning.
funny. That's great. I love that. You guys know what a big fan of Rian Johnson I am too.
Yes, and
with
we've
Brick.
talked about that with Knives
Yeah.
Out. Yes, Brick, as you mentioned. We're Rian Johnson fans. Looper is one that I have. I remember. I think maybe getting off like for Redbox, or maybe even for one of the Jelani, maybe one of the movie marathon vibes.
Yeah. I think it was definitely a 40 movies in 40 days.
Yeah, and remembering being like, oh, this movie, it's got JGL looking weird,
Mm-hmm.
and then
doing a
you
pretty
watch
good
it.
Bruce Willis impersonation, right?
Yeah, right. And then watching it and being like, dude, it's so good. I mean, you have Emily Blunt, you got Willis, you got JGL. It's Jeff Daniels. It's so good. I love this movie.
So
I picked it, so I don't want to be like, oh, hey, I did everything right, but I love this movie.
It's not a love for me, but it's. I remember being super excited about it because it looked awesome. So I may have like overhyped it the first time I watched it for myself, but I remember enjoying it. But I remember thinking it was a little strange. This was really only the second time that I've seen it, and it, so obviously I remembered a lot of it, and it made a lot more sense this viewing around. But I still didn't love it. I watched it with Colin too. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have,
Nice.
but I did.
Because
we watched T1 and T2 together. Yeah, right. We watched T1 and T2, so I was like, all right, we're gonna do another time travel movie. And yeah, he didn't love it either, but he didn't dislike it.
I'll be honest. For right out of the gate, you're in it. I mean, you have him essentially blasting a dude in the chest like 15 seconds into the movie. So if you sit down with your son to watch this movie, he's in early.
I mean, that is exactly what I said to him, though, because he didn't really want to watch it because he had never heard of it, right? But as I put it on and he's watching, and I'm like, yeah. As soon as that happened, I'm like, if you're not in after that, then I don't even know what to tell you.
Yeah, it's
And
not going to
he sat
be
down.
massively different.
But it is a very good movie, and it is. I think it is a good and unique story.
Is it I haven't dug through the IMDb resume. I mean, I'll tell you one thing that jumped out at me. Not creepy Paul Dano?
But he was whiny.
He was whiny, yes.
No,
Less
he
than-
wasn't. He
he's
wasn't
not
lovable.
always creepy, but he's always has like this like whine or cry that he does,
Yeah.
where it's like,
It's very elongated.
yeah. And
Everything
he's
he
very
does is
good at it.
elongated. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. But he wasn't like super creepy, which is a huge upgrade. Like, I feel like that was like he did one for the family. You know, he's like, I'm super creepy, but like I'll do a borderline normal dude for.
Well, he did that like Brian Wilson biopic where he wasn't super creepy. So, but you guys probably never watched that.
No.
I was
Not
going to
Beach
say
Boys fans, come on.
I was going to say he wasn't creepy because he wasn't the boy that got abandoned this time. So
Gets locked into a shower.
And we've talked about Dano before, and with There Will Be Blood,
And Prisoners.
and we've talked about him offline many a time. He's great at what he does. So he's, but it caught my eye that he.
Can we do The Girl Next Door, please?
We'll have to do The Girl Next Door at some point. Yeah, that's,
Yeah, I think it's its 20 year, right? So it was 2004, I think. So yeah, perfect. We'll do it
All
next
right.
week.
We'll do it at some point this year.
Right.
I think, Martin, one of the things that is kind of fun about this is while it is still a time travel movie, it is also kind of your film noir, right? Like
For sure.
You have a
Oh,
lot of
definitely
those
noir
elements in there, and that's what makes it, I think, a little bit more fun than just a straight up time travel movie, because it's like a detective, right? You got to figure out what's going on. Why are they sending the loopers back? Who's trying to kill all the loopers? And
Who's closing all these loops?
right? And then you see,
I like that, and they have their own language in that sense, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
just like they did in Brick, right?
Brick, yeah.
And then you can see the whole thing of like him playing the time out, like after his loop is closed, like how he's playing out the 30 years to where he's
Yeah.
going to end up. And
Well, the quote that I read earlier touches on that a little bit, right? Like, the idea that in the moment, Bruce Willis's character is feeling or recognizing and able to see and feel those, like, what those decisions that JGL is making.
It's such a good quote. I think it encompasses exactly what. It's such a good way to talk about time travel, right? And if he is, and I like the way they play it out in the movie too. Like when one sees one, the other guy, it solidifies as a memory for him, and they just do the editing really really well. When
Well,
he's
and you
like,
see that-
oh, he realizes that it's what is his name, the Rainmaker. He's like, oh my god, it's him. They both realize it like at the same time. It's cool.
And you see that with both Dano and them writing,
Yeah.
cutting into their arm when
Yeah.
they're in trouble and passing a message along to their future self.
And a little bit of comedy with the Beatrix and Jen.
Yep.
Jen was shorter.
I'll be honest. I feel like you should have introduced Jen better than it's funny. You're not wrong, but like the Beatrix thing, even in that short time, I remembered Beatrix. I feel like whether it either needs to be a better, simpler name, but it needs to be like a more unique, shorter name is maybe the best way to say that. Like Beatrix stands out. When you threw Jen out there, I feel like it's too generic. Sorry, July.
like, I'm not saying anything.
No, well, I mean, it's awesome because the first note said "be at," right, on Paul Dano, right? It said "be at this place."
I guess I didn't put that together.
Yeah, so you were thinking it's the same thing. You're thinking that they got him, and they're telling him where to be, but it just says Beatrix. So it's like, oh, I know.
Well done.
Yeah,
Well done.
See,
Sorry.
It's,
didn't need 12 loops for that.
that's
You
Ryan
need-
Johnson.
You
That's
got to
his
know which
brilliance.
guy's coming back into it, and then you're good. Don't worry. I just think they did so much well, and to see them continually like I said, I really enjoy the cast, obviously, but seeing this, I feel like I fell back into this a couple years ago. I don't know if it hit Netflix or whatever it was, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, I haven't seen Looper in a while, and I was like, oh man, like this still hits. Like I really really dug it, and that was kind of my re-exposure to it. But you have this, what I think is like a pretty great like premise. I liked the idea of just like the whole concept. To me felt unique and different than other time travel movies, although admittedly I hadn't seen Primer at that point. So
And he got the time travel all wrong. So
and despite that, they apparently they fucked up everything. But according to one guy who made an hour and 17-minute movie that was unenjoyable, but I felt like we might have gotten our 3 movies wrong for a second when I saw a note saying that Looper was the third time that Bruce Willis's character had time traveled and encountered his younger self. The first was with 12 Monkeys.
Yeah.
The second was The Kid.
I was
in
going to say The
2000,
Kid. Yeah, the
which
Disney
I have
film.
Not seen.
oh, everyone says it's a terrible. It's the worst
It's
movie.
got to be awful. Jelani, you recognize it?
I recognize it.
Guess you saw
I don't think I've actually ever watched it.
Okay.
I think. Oh man, yeah.
Remember the movie poster is just like his face looking up, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I had no idea. Unfamiliar with it. Definitely wasn't going to watch it. But I was like, oh shit, we could have went 3 for 3 on Bruce Willis time traveling movies.
That's what Jelani asked me. He's like, "There's no chance that Bruce Willis is in Primer," and I totally went over my head.
I remember that.
I'm like, "Oops." But that was a good one.
I did think that Jeff Daniels was great, well cast as the boss man.
I like Jeff Daniels, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I mean,
I'm a fan.
yeah, can't get enough newsroom TikTok clips in my algo right now, so I'm sure that'll keep rolling.
To your
and I always love an Emily Blunt
oh yeah,
movie, and
always good to see her. And again, she did exactly what she needed to do there, right? She
is a really good actress.
Yeah.
And,
she was.
We just saw her in
her
Sicario.
element.
And yeah,
I felt like.
Yeah, totally. Enjoyed it, but I remember that part being. It felt the first time I watched it. It felt like, I don't know, just like a totally separate part. Like when they introduced the kid, and I guess I didn't remember all the Rainmaker stuff.
Sid, yeah, same.
Sid and the Rainmaker. It seemed a little more disjointed than it was, but this time it seemed more coherent. Like it did make sense, and I understood what they were going for.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think the idea behind, well, I think understanding. I just think they don't show you the path right away, so I think you can maybe make the loose connection until they really lay it out for you straightforward that this is the kid, and obviously there's a lot more to it than that, and he is potentially, this is where the future aspect comes into play. Like, but it's great. I loved the way that they got around to it, and JGL is recognizing, and it said, like, I finally saw it. I mean, his dialogue there in the voiceover of saying, like, I finally saw the whole path.
Yeah.
And there was
at the end, right?
There was only one solution. And I loved it, the disruption of that timeline. And I just think that's really what clinches and makes this movie really great, in my opinion, is that. Like, it takes until that exact, for me at least, till that exact second to realize, like, you're kind of along for the ride, and then you realize, like, you can't see this coming, and it's like, boom, drastic.
Yeah, it's your protagonist, like, not winning, not succeeding, and making it, more of a tragedy than
Yeah, you're 2 hours in of rooting for him,
right?
And then
trying to see how he can get through and how he can fight this, and then he makes that ultimate decision. By the way, just for those who are listening and not familiar with the pod, JGL stands for Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh, the hell!
They better know.
Fuck right off for not knowing that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
apparently not a lot of Third Rock from the Sun fans on the pod.
Project Power, people.
But yeah, the ending seemed like kind of the only way it could end or should end, but it was also kind of, like you said, like an abrupt shock as well. So it was just a unique story, a unique take on time travel that's very, very welcome.
Yeah,
not as good as Hot Tub Time Machine, but right up there.
So this is just a random question, but would A Wonderful Life qualify as a time travel movie?
Yeah, see, that's they don't really travel in time. I mean, kinda. It's an alternate reality movie, which
explain
in some
that, Mark,
ways
because I think you said that last time when we were talking about these movies. Like you said, there's a difference, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, that's It's a Wonderful Life is like more an alternate reality movie, and that's been remade or redone in a bunch of different ways. There's, I think, Mr. Destiny with Jim Belushi, The Family Man with Nicolas Cage is pretty much, they're all just like retellings of what would happen to my life if I had hit the baseball or if I had never been born, which is It's a Wonderful Life, that kind of stuff.
I think it's a fair distinction to point out, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not, time travel is one thing, especially when you have an obsessive like Martin who cares about the literal aspect of it, in the U-Haul storage facility. But the
Got to have it climate controlled.
alternate reality is definitely different. Like you're dabbling in time, but it's definitely. I agree wholeheartedly. It's very two different things.
Well, like is Quantum Leap, is that a time travel movie, or is that
Yes.
Is that a time traveling show?
Yes.
Is it? He's not traveling in time. He's traveling in alternate realities.
I think he's traveling to different times. No. Like specifically by design, it's
Quantum Leap. Yes, they do.
yeah. Fair.
He
It's
does
obviously
travel
time
within
travel.
within. Yes, he does. It is time travel as well. But it's also kind of alternate.
It checks both
realities.
boxes for you.
Did you guys ever watch Sliders?
I love Sliders.
What?
But
Sliders
that's
so-
alternate
was so good.
realities.
That's alternate
wormholes.
reality. Yeah, that's wormholes. Yes.
Yeah.
So you got that kind. You also have the, we've talked about the loop, like the Groundhog Day, which he doesn't really travel in time, but I mean, I guess he does. He's redoing a day. Palm Springs is like that.
Edge of
Yeah,
Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow.
That's tough, right? Like I get what you're saying. It's to distinguish between the two because I do think it is distinguishable and well designed to point that out. I just think it is. There's a relevance to it when you're talking about time travel movies, and I think we did it right. The three movies we picked are very much time travel movies, and I liked all of them. I mean, I think there was a nice connection there between all of them as well, and there's a technical aspect from Primer that also, by the way, looked to be the oldest movie, despite not being older than 12 Monkeys. But
I mean, there was that part when they were like by the fountain looking for the cat. That, I mean, it's like, why would you ever pick that as a setting? Like the audio already sounds pretty trashy throughout the whole movie. Why would you have all this running water, like splashing water?
it's almost
to
like
make it-
they'd never made a movie before.
And let me recommend
Or
Upstream
Sense.
Color, the only other movie that Shane Carruth has made for total mindfuck. If you want to watch that one too, but I know you guys won't.
I'm good. You'd have to be pretty fucking great for me to want to dive down that path. So, but fun nonetheless. I felt like we had a good 3 movies this week. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Can we revisit? We'll have to revisit some other ones that we mentioned. Do some other time travel movies in the
You
future.
mean more time travels?
Yeah, more time travel.
Sorry, I thought you meant rewatch these. I was like,
No,
I
no,
could rewatch
sorry.
2 of them.
Revisit the genre, I should have said.
Oh,
Sorry.
fair, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
There's always room for time travel. We can definitely go back and redo it.
Nice.
We should travel back in time.
As always, the other podcasts that you're listening to are just copying other podcasts. They are goddamn 20th century affectations. Do something new, huh? Like subscribing and telling a friend. Thanks, and save it for the pod.